Did I tell you I got to talk to Coach?
It was today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that came on.
Yeah. I mean, it was that long. He just said thanks for coming down. We're gonna get
Okay. It's 5:30, and I'm going to call this meeting of the Northwest Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of the meeting has been posted in accordance with Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551. The board will convene in closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Chapter 551, including sections 551.071, consultation with the board's attorney, and 551.072, real estate matters, and 551.074, personnel matters, and 551.076, security devices and security audits. And we will now move to closed session. Reconvene into our regular meeting. Dr. Warren?
All right. Invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. Everyone please rise. Folks, good to see everybody. Thanks for coming out tonight. If you feel comfortable doing so, please pray with me. Our dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. And Lord, we just ask that you bless our meeting tonight, be with our board members. Lord, you know how much they do for our district and for our children. We ask you to bless this meeting and see us all safely home. And Lord, above all things else, just bring your love, your guidance, your wisdom, and your protection to our children. It's in your name we pray. Amen. Amen. All right. Folks, we have two very special guests tonight from Lakeview Elementary School. The third grade is very well represented. Let's see. Layton DeCapit. Wave at everybody, Layton. Everybody, that's Layton. Ann, good to see you. Thank you for coming. Layton is a proud third grader at Lakeview Elementary School. Her favorite subjects are reading, yes, writing, and math. You are well-rounded, Layton. Good job. She loves to play soccer, train dogs, help others, and tumble. Wow, if I played soccer, I would tumble, Layton. Dr. Seltzer, where's Mary? Good to see you, Mary. This is what Mary says about Layton. Layton embodies all that it means to be a Lakeview Bobcat. She is dedicated to her schoolwork and is a great friend to others. Layton's smile brightens up every place she goes. Let's see that smile, Layton. There we go. Thank you for being here. And then Ella Babineau. Ella, did I say your name right?
Yes.
Yes. All right. And Kathy, thanks for coming. And we, Ella, math. We love math. We love reading. And?
Yeah.
You said art. Do you like to be, are you an artist?
Yeah. Yes,
there we go. Okay. She likes to go to her dance studio. She loves to dance, and she also likes to swim and ride her bike and or scooter.
Yes.
Ella brings joy to our school each and every day. She is kind to others and thoughtful in her work. Ella is a great example for others. She always makes us Bobcat proud. Thanks for being here, Ella.
You're welcome.
All right, ladies, we're going to do the we're going to do the American flag first and then the Texas flag. Please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great job. Now Texas.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Great job, ladies. Now stay right there. Mrs. Cobb has a little present for you. And everybody can be seated. Thank you.
Thank you.
There you go.
Okay, now we're going to move to recognitions. Dr. Warren?
All right. Mrs. Conklin, are we ready? We've got a great group together.
There we go. Okay, I think I'm on now. All right, so first I'd like to call up Carrie Scheer and Barb Walker from EECU. Carrie is from our special education department, and she is our most recent GEM award winner. GEM stands for Going the Extra Mile, and it represents excellent customer service to our staff, students, and community. This award is a partnership with Northwest ISD and EECU Credit Union.
Great job. Thank you.
Okay, and for our next recognition, I'd like to invite our Director of Safety and Security, Mike Conklin, to the front, if he is here, and our Safety Coordinator, Al Beck, if they're here. Yeah, up to the front. Al, you want to come up? All right, so earlier this month, we had a graduation ceremony held for the Fort Worth Police Department's Teen Academy. The course lasted 6 weeks with an opportunity to receive classroom and scenario-based training from Fort Worth School Resource Officers and the Fort Worth Police Academy personnel. This program is designed to introduce teens to a career in law enforcement. Adams Middle School had the largest representation of schools with 15 students completing the academy. And tonight we also have School Resource Officer Dan Bailey, if you want to come up to the front as well. He was a very big support in the graduation of these students from the academy. So we will be recognizing the following students. As I call your name, please come up to the front, and then we'll take one big group picture. So we have Brooklyn Brooks. Tanitha Lawrence. Nathan Ludicky. And one thing about Nathan, he was also presented an award for having the best male performance in the physical assessment test of 1 minute and 43 seconds. Duncan Rodriguez. Here. Ariana Smith Anderson. Haley Emery. David Edwardson. Kyla Dovers. Jasmine Espinoza. Tanner Hills. Nathan Gamboa. Okay. Bianca Bruno. Nicole Rodriguez. Ali Ayala. Did I say that correctly? And Andrew Cunningham. Okay, I think that's everybody.
Oh my gosh.
All right, everyone look at me. I count to 3. 1, 2, 3.
Everybody good? Great job, guys.
Okay, and next we have Jerry Cantu, who's going to recognize our new Adopt a School partner.
Thank you, Emily. Tonight, Partners in Education is pleased to recognize our newest Adopt a School partner. At this time, we'd like Justin Elementary School Principal Dr. Lisa Ransleben to join us up front. Here now is Community Life Church co-pastor Sean Figert to join us up front. Pastor Sean personally volunteers every Wednesday afternoon mentoring students and organizing small group tutoring sessions for our students. He and his church have treated the Justin Elementary School staff to a hamburger cookout and special treats throughout the year. We're pleased to welcome the Community Life Church and Pastor Sean Figert as our Partners in Education Adopt a School partners. And that's it for recognitions.
Did y'all notice that they usually stay until I tell them that they feel free to go, but middle school just, yeah, there we go. Ladies, thank y'all for the pledges. If y'all need to excuse yourself, we totally understand.
All right, our next item on the agenda is public participation, and there are none. So we'll move on to consent agenda.
Madam President,
Mr. Schluter.
I move to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Schluter and a second by Mr. Sproles. All those in favor? Okay. Mr. Schluter, did you vote?
Yes, I did. I was
Okay,
very quick.
I missed
Sorry.
you. I want to make sure. All
Moving right along.
6-0.
Thank you, Board.
Okay. All right, our discussion action items. A, naming a principal of Cox Elementary School. Dr. Warren?
Board, I very proudly bring you the name of Carissa Oakley, current assistant principal at Justin Elementary School, to be our new Cox Elementary principal. Well, I love it when we get clapped.
Madam President, I motion to name Carissa Oakley as the principal of Cox Elementary School as recommended by the administration. Second.
I have a motion by Dr. Roush, a second by Dr. Simpson. All those in favor? Carries 6-0. Okay, our next item is naming a principal of Lakeview Elementary.
Now I know why y'all stayed. Now I know. Board, with equal pride, I bring you the name of Erica Oster, current assistant principal at Lakeview Elementary School, to be our new principal.
Madam President,
Mr. Sproles.
I move to nominate or to name Erica Oster as principal of Lakeview Elementary as recommended by the administration.
Okay. I have a motion by Mr. Sproles, a second by Mr. Hastings. All those in favor? Carries 6-0. Our next item is naming of Executive Director of Construction. Dr. Warren?
Board, I bring you Tommy Osborne to be our new Executive Director of Construction.
Madam President,
Mr. Schluter?
I move to name Tommy Osborne as Executive Director of Construction as recommended by the administration.
Okay. Have a motion by Mr. Schluter, a second by Mr. Hastings. All those in favor? Carries 6-0.
Thank you, Board, and we're very proud to have him on board too. Correct, Tim? Yes. Amen.
Okay, item D, create nominating committee for 2019-20 board officers. And I have already asked Mark to lead this committee, so I will open it up for 2 more to be nominated for this committee at this time.
Don't be shy. Just raise your hand and then we'll put you down, we'll vote on it. Steve,
Okay, I got Mr. Sproles
and Dr. Roush.
Dr. Roush.
Madam President,
Mr. Schluter?
I move to nominate myself, Steve Sproles and Dr. Roush to this nominating committee.
Second. Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Schluter and a second by Dr. Simpson. All those in favor? Carries 6-0.
Thank you, Board.
Okay. Item E, personnel recommendations including reorganizing and assigning administrative duties and titles, extension, hiring, and/or renewal, non-renewal of contracts of individual teachers, administrators, principals, support staff, assistant superintendents, and resignations. Dr. Warren.
Board, on page 12, this is a fun night because we renew all the contracts for our, Dr. Cayley, probably 1,600 teachers and 1,600 plus teachers, and plus those that were discussed in executive session. And just for the folks in the crowd to know, I will ask Mr. Sproles and Mrs. Kopp to abstain from this vote because of Steve's wife at Granger and because of Judy's 2 young ladies at Granger and at Peterson. And so everybody else can vote because there's no issue with nepotism or anything like that. So I would recommend approval of those contracts.
Madam President,
Mr. Hastings?
I move to approve the personnel recommendations, including reorganization and assigning administrative duties and titles, extension, hiring, and/or renewal, non-renewal of contracts of individual teachers, administrators, principals, support staff, assistant superintendents, and resignations as recommended by the administration.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Hastings, a second by Dr. Roush. All those in favor? 4, and 2 abstained.
Thank you, Board.
Okay. Item F, proposed medical premium for 2019-20 plan year. Dr. Warren?
Board, as I told you in my letter, Kitty and Kim did a great job last meeting laying out the needs of our insurance plan. This information begins on page 51 in your packet, and the actual recommendations, if you look at your device, are actually on page 61, 62, and 63 on their PowerPoint. Dr. Cayley and/or Kitty, any comments?
We're happy to answer any questions.
We've been working together way too long.
I will tell you this, but, and make sure that we say this out loud. If you look at those, page 61, 62, the bulk of our employees, the vast majority of our employees are on the, make sure I say this right, the high deductible employee only plan. If you see over 400, and that is not going to see a rise if you approve this. And then you see, depending on the plan, how much that rises. And I will say this publicly, we will be working on a plan as John and Brian and all of us work through the school finance plan to try to negate as much. This is the first time we've had to raise the rates in
3 years.
In 3 years.
For the basic and the high deductible plan, 1 year for the core plan.
Gotcha. And so, this is not something that we want to do or like to do, but we've got to keep the plan solvent. We did have some of our teammates have some tough times this year. That's what challenges you face when you're a self-funded plan. I will also say, whoever made the recommendation way back when not to be on the state plan, that was a fantastic decision for the school district. They're seeing a lot of challenges from the state plan point of view. So, Board, I would recommend that you approve those changes as posted in your packet.
Madam President,
Dr. Roush?
I motion to approve the proposed medical premiums for the 2019-2020 plan year as recommended by the administration.
Second. Okay, I have a motion by Dr. Roush, a second by Dr. Simpson. Is there any other discussion needed?
Yeah, Madam President, I just want to tell you all thank you again for putting those spreadsheets together that show the comparisons, because that made it a lot easier to understand. So thank you for doing that.
Okay, anything else? All those in favor? Carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you.
Okay, our next item is the Northwest ISD Aquatic Center funding. Dr. Warren?
Board, last Thursday, I had the honor of attending the Byron Nelson Swim and Diving Banquet, and guess what was the talk of the banquet? our new pool. So I appreciate the work on this. Tim and the crew have put in a lot of work on this. I want to again discuss a few of the numbers, because I know there's some questions about this, about the plan that we want to move forward with, to have the center that we think is going to really drive us forward and to give us the facility that we promised our communities and definitely promised our kids. So, Mr. McClure, please.
Absolutely. Board, thank you. I'll kind of click through some of these first slides, as you've seen most of this before, but I want to keep them in case we needed to reference anything. We talked about the opportunities that are present. Those were opportunities, I would say, that obviously came about after the bond election, as we talked about what this area needed and how we could share in some operational costs. As these facilities tend to run a little bit higher in operational costs. So there's a lot of times you see school districts partnering with other entities. So this all came from that discussion internally with our leadership group to say, could we provide some of these other things like a training resource, a healthcare resource, a rehabilitation resource that would help offset those long-term operational costs. Just a quick look at the map again. We've isolated the area the old practice baseball field across the street here from the admin building. There is the floor plan of the first floor with the medical spaces, the training spaces, and the swim area spaces, as well as a classroom space there on the first floor right next to the pool. Second floor, the rehabilitation area, and then the spectator area and, concessions and restroom area. Some images of the facility, which you have seen from last week. And then I just want to get into some of the stuff that we discussed this past couple weeks with both Joel, Dr. Thornell, and the contractor. We've got Pogue here, and we also have Huckabee here as well. So we've been a lot of manpower into just making sure we can bring you as much detailed information as we can to help in your decision-making process. One of the things we talked about on the practice pool was just the ability to be able to operate those, to offset those operating costs. And one of the things that Coach Melbourne, the swim coach over at Byron Nelson, said that practice pool presents the best opportunity to be able to release out and rent those lanes until it's needed for growth of our schools, and do that at the same time our teams are training. So it presents an opportunity to bring money in and offset those operational costs without interfering with normal high school practice times and taking water time away from them. Of course, we'd never do that. We would obviously give the first right to the high school students and the swim and dive teams. The other thing was to be able to provide a pool that was better accommodating for swim lessons and water safety courses, year-round swim lessons at that. The shallower end of that pool, or the shallower depth of that practice pool, still allows swimmers to do their practicing in their lanes, but serves a better purpose for those type of activities. It also serves as a great opportunity for rehabilitation benefit to both the district and Texas Health Resources. And the practice pool, the big piece there was that it allows us to be able to absorb a fifth high school before we actually need to talk about building a second aquatic center or natatorium to be able to do from scheduling. I talked extensively with our athletic department and with Coach Melbourne this week, and those extra lanes provide that capability of being able to schedule 5 high schools through that facility without cramping anybody, without having to limit the size of the teams and give everybody fair practice time. That will not be possible without it. You'd only be able to schedule up to about 4 teams to be able to practice in there, 4 high school teams if it did not have the practice pool. Other thing is the athletic training area was another space we talked about. What our thoughts are, and Dr. Thornell and Mr. Johnson, we both visited about this, is just the ability to negotiate that lease. Of course, the groups we engaged with were not able to bring forth the capital to sponsor that, like Texas Health were, but are interested in a long-term lease with us and a payback period of what we think to be 15 to 18 years. The additional turf gives a lot more training opportunities to dry land activities. I am not a swimmer, but I've talked to many swimmers, and there's a lot of activities and training that happens on what they call dry land activities, where they're doing workouts and things out of the water to help better them once they get into the water. It offers the ability to offer discounted memberships to NISD staff. We would want that ability with whoever we sign that lease with, and the ability to offer elite training. That could be police and firefighters, that could be college recruits, our high school students going off to try to compete collegiately, could be professional athletes in their off season being able to use this place, and it provides an additional weight room space for the use of our students and faculty if we move forward with that piece on the training center. Ultimately, the implementation and of the health science sports medicine program, so Lynn had updated y'all on that several months ago when we first talked about this opportunity to seek out those different partnerships. The opportunity to have our students rotating through those clinical health science programs, working with both trainers and nutritionists and doctors and therapists and all those type of people that would be involved in that facility and having that exposure to our students as they pursue the health science sports medicine pathway. Again, more benefits towards accommodating future growth, but for benefits for water safety and swim lessons. I think our athletic group nicknamed it a one-stop shop. Everything that they need would be right there in that facility. We've already touched on the training, rehab, and the community relationships that it would bring into our district. So just talking about the expanded scope, I mentioned earlier when I started the presentation, just talking about how this is something that expanded from when we planned the bond. When we first planned the bond, we said, let's go build a pool. And then as we talked into it, we said, how can we offset some operational costs? A very expensive facility to run, a facility that will stay open and active more than any other facility that we run currently. If you have anybody or any family members that swim, ask them. I've been educated on this. It is almost a 24 or 365-day, 5 to 6 a.m. to 10 or 11, maybe sometimes midnight at night, almost 7 days a week, with the exception of some holidays, that this pool stays active in other communities and other school districts. One of those expanded scopes was the Texas Health Resources and bringing a commitment to the project to be able to service a medical facility for orthopedic doctors to serve rotations through there, to have access to not just our students and our faculty, but as well as our community. That is something that doesn't exist in our community today. If you want orthopedic services, you have to leave our district boundaries to find them. So Texas Health is committed to that. I just wanted to show you the construction cost, and so we can kind of back into where your decisions are for tonight. The total project construction cost, and this has not gone to bid, I want to reiterate that. We've got representatives, Mr. Heisels here from POG. Their estimated cost estimate based on what's drawn today, the 100% drawings, is about $36.8 million. Of that, Texas Health is already committed to the $3.425 million, which brings that balance of construction cost need to $33,329,916. So I wanted to get that slide kind of out of the way so you can just focus on the numbers we're looking at tonight, which is how do we make up that $33,329,916. So in the original budget from the bond, the construction value of that was $27.5 million. We have seen some cost drivers that have influenced construction, the state of construction, but more importantly, influenced the type of construction we have to build for this particular project. Some of the equipment that goes in this thing is very sophisticated equipment. I know POG has said they've seen upwards of 40% increase in some of that equipment because it's so specialized. So you're not seeing a true apples-to-apples inflationary rate and cost market increase as you would to normal types of construction because of the specific nature of this building. There's other factors with the growth that we're just seeing in the North Texas area. I know Mr. Templeton was here last time and talked to you about the growth in the district. We have several major corporations coming in. Toyota, obviously, Facebook's continuing to build, Charles Schwab, Fidelity, all these major components, plus just all the residential movement to Texas. So we've seen an uptake into the cost for construction costs. So we figured that with working with POG at about a $2 million price that's just on the escalation of the project alone. The value of that additional practice pool we've talked about to be able to take you from 4 high schools, maybe postponing the building of another natatorium to support our growth upwards of 20 years from now before we'd have to make that decision again. That value is about $2.1 million. And then that training facility that we were hoping to add on, that additional athletic training area, sitting at about 1.6. That's the one that I said we targeted about a 15 to 18-year return on investment through a long-term lease with another company working through that. So that brings you to that $33,329. I'll back up one side, which is the difference from what the Texas Health Resources is already committed to into putting into this building. And then that difference there is the 5.8. $5,829,916. Just to recap, I've given you all at your stations, you have a 3-sheet stapled together that shows the open bonds that we have. We currently are operating out of 3 bonds. And excuse me, I'm going to grab mine. I forgot to bring it with me. So you do see the top sheet there is a 2017 capital bond program. There's a highlight key there for you. The one thing I would say is you can see we're involved in almost a large percentage of all the projects that are already in the slate for being either in designed or already let to a construction contract. The stuff that's kind of in the taupish orange, beige color there, the replacement of Haslett Elementary School, we bid that this week. The NISD Aquatic Center, of course, is on the docket for tonight. They're ready to take that out to the bid market depending on how you ask us to proceed tonight. The NHS additions and high school renovations bids later this month. And then the Eaton High School and then all the middle school additions and renovation bid in the next month and a half or so. So we're in the process of cost estimating all those. I can tell you all those are coming in right where our budget is. So we feel really confident about those. You can see the projects in blue that have already been delivered. We're starting to realize some savings in some of those projects, and I look forward to bringing that to you as we begin to close out those projects. We haven't done a closeout on any of those just yet. The second page is the 2012 Capital Bond Program overview. You can see we have two projects left there. One is a technology budget, which I think Adam, Mr. Fine would be working through. There's not much left there. There's only about $25,000 there left in that budget item from that bond. And then the other one is the big ticket item of Adams Middle School. We feel really confident. I mean, we're at a point right now where we know the 3.5 is the savings. We're working with Pogue to close out that contract right now. That 3.5 is the total budget savings, not the construction savings. We're still waiting on the construction closeout, which will add some more money to that. That could be another $300,000 to $400,000 added to that 3.5 as we look to close out that contract. So right now we feel confident that in the 2012 we have additional savings down there at the bottom of a little over $8 million that's sitting there for your pleasure. And then the last, or the one that's open from the longest, is the 2008 bond program. And again, we are down to the very end of that. That was Elementary 18, which is Curtis Elementary, and we're in the process of closing that out. We have a meeting later this week to discuss those closeout terms and finalize that and be able to bring some savings back there. Again, we've listed $451,000. We know that's project savings, not construction savings. So we're working through the construction savings that could change that balance or increase that balance. But we know at a minimum we're bringing back $450,000 out of that. And then we've got still a little bit of money, $350,000 left in that bond for continuing purchasing administrative upgrades and furniture and fixtures. One of those is the screens that are about to be replaced. We've been working real hand in hand with technology and Mr. Fine, and I don't know the schedule on that. If you know yet, is it July? So we come back after summer and we'll have the screens where hopefully I can read them because I can't read that up there. But we'll have them replaced. Those have served us well, but they are in need of being replaced. And so some of those dollars come out of that fund that's still there, as well as the growth positions administratively and furniture repair that needs to happen throughout the district. So bringing that total at $465,000 left in that bond.
Good. So Tim, go back one slide, please.
Yes, sir.
So board, if you look at your screen right now, you've got your total price, the original price is $27,500. And then, with the construction escalation, we'll need to pay that. Now, at the very least, I would ask you to seriously consider the practice pool. I think the two reasons that Tim gave you were very well thought out, prolonging the need for another facility and the ability to bring external money into the district. We've talked about that for a long time, as being able to do that. Now, the additional training area, we promised our folks we're going to build them a pool. And so that is what we're going to do. That is completely, I'm just going to leave that with completely your pleasure. That is an additional athletic area. We have the money. The bond money needs to be spent on facilities. We feel very good about what's in the 2017. I mean, my first question to Tim was, do we have the funding if something were to happen on the 2017 bond with so many different projects? He is very, Tim, make sure I say this correctly, but you're very confident that we have the funding to make sure that we deliver every single project from the 2017 bond. So you have the extra money to make sure that we can do what we need to do on the natatorium, for that. So I would really highly recommend that you approve at least $31.7 million that would be included, that would include the base price, the original budget, the construction cost escalation, and the practice pool. And then I'd love to hear what you have, what you think about the athletic training area.
I'd like to know about the athletic training area. If we did leave that off, how would that change the design, and would there be design costs to change that, and what would it do to the medical area? Would it be, just curious?
So what we've talked about with the, excuse me, what we've talked about with...
Steve, basically you pull out an eraser, right?
That's right. If you look at the plan that I have up right now, I don't know if it didn't show me a mouse up there. Okay. The bottom pink long section, that's the indoor facility that we're talking about. It basically removes that from the project. So there is a little bit of work on the design team to do. They feel like that's something that they can do pretty quickly, and that way we can get it out to bid. It really doesn't change anything else about the structure. We've looked at that extensively, knowing that could be a consideration. The bigger design change and the further delay in a bid scenario is if the pool is removed, because then we would take that second floor and drop it down, and so there does become some extensive design work for that. But just the athletic piece, which is the 1.6 that's noted there, if that comes off, it's a matter of making some design change and detail change to the exterior of the facade and being able to go out to bid pretty quickly.
Is that something we could add later easily, or would it be a lot more expensive to wait?
Well, what I would say is you're going to suffer the cost increases of time, and it's already drawn now. So you're going to have to pay an architect again to come back and add on to it. So I think it costs you more in the long run. Most construction, again, if we hit a downturn like 2008, 2009, that changes things. Nobody foresees that right now. But most construction is going to continue to escalate, even if it's just a little bit. So over time, you'll spend more to come back and add it.
And I have one more question. On the external, like if we rent it out to other schools to come use our facilities, what can that money be used for? Can it go in on the facility itself?
It goes to the operational expenses of that facility, yes. So I've talked with several districts, and I wish Joel was here. I know he could give you a little bit more update, but I know that there are districts that are bringing in upwards of $1 million combined with their partnerships, and splitting that with their city. Most of those partnerships are with their city. So they're bringing in $1 million annually, and $500,000 is going to the district, and $500,000 is going back to the city. So I know that model exists in several communities that I've spoken with, and how they're benefiting from that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I have a lot of questions. I don't know if anybody wants to go before me. I guess since we're talking about the practice facility, I know performance course came up before as far as letting them do it. Is it just so that they can do what they do at other campuses already, or are they looking to set up some kind of health club, fitness center?
No, what's the plan? So this is an enhancement to really cater towards adult athletes or people going into college recruitment. There are several training facilities around the Metroplex. Most of them are not in Tarrant County. So some that come to mind is the Michael Johnson Training Center over, I believe it's in Plano, where athletes who are going to the next level, whether that's any sport, that's not just a football athlete or a volleyball athlete, it's any sport, go to these to work on their agility, to work on their strength, to work on their speed. And so it is a heightened type facility. Now, what we've seen, and Texas Health has partnered with one of these agencies in Arlington, and what they have seen is they're getting that group in there, but they are getting some membership, just workout type membership group as well. But they have the qualifications and the personnel there to really focus on that elite training piece.
And then on this the screen you're showing here, where the blue and the pink diagonal, is that the weight room?
That is the weight room.
Now, are we going to set this up where someone as an individual can just walk in and use the facilities and pay a fee, or does there have to be some kind of business associated with it?
So there would be a business associated. That's okay. Part of this piece. If this piece goes away, then that weight room really becomes exclusive use of NISD, because the rehab center has what weights they have machine equipment. and that's all housed on the second floor. If you
Okay.
go up to the second floor there, you see a lot of open spaces up there. They have all their therapeutic equipment up there, except for what they'll use in the pool. And obviously that equipment would be down by the pool side. So that does not become a membership area unless you have a partnership in place. Does that answer your question?
Yes. And then with the partnerships with Texas Health, they're bringing some capital into the project, but are they going to be paying lease as well, or are they given an exclusion for a certain time frame to?
So the way that we're working through, and Christy has been helping as we work through the letter of intent, and now we've agreed upon, or we've gotten to terms on the letter of intent, so we're working through the contract now. Basically what that does, I'm going to fast forward to the slide so you can see the amount. The intent of the contract will say, once they are not paying a lease, they pay I think it's a $10 a month lease. It's a very minimal lease, and it says once you finish out the value that they're paying $10, but the value that we're receiving goes against that credit. So the 3.4, and their utility costs go against that credit, and the custodial costs go against that credit. And once they reach that credit, then the contract becomes null and void, and we re-up, and at that point, everything becomes an influx into the district. So it's basically an upfront lease payment is what they're doing to get them there.
What are y'all estimating the time frame?
We've set the clause for us to renegotiate at 7 years right now, I believe is what we ended up on. So 7 years, I think is it a 15-year? It's a 15-year contract with a 7-year option there halfway through to reevaluate.
Okay, and then
Steve, let me add one more thing to what was just said. Just because I've had a conversation with the swim coaches as well, specifically, and Joel's with kids today. He's at the state something today. Golf? Yes. The additional training area will be used by our kids. The swim coaches are excited about having that area so they can do more. It won't be exclusively used by our children. We will have other folks who want to do that, but our coaches are excited to have, if approved, will be excited to have an extra component of their training be used for that area. So that will be used by our children.
That's correct.
Yeah, I think my line of questioning, because I've got different lines we'll go through, but it's right now is because of the cost overrun is, in a sense, getting the money back. So that's where this line of questioning is going. Which, yeah, I would assume that no matter the facility, our kids are going to get to use it. That's priority. But, okay, so the Texas Health, you said about 7-ish years now. Now, if a swim club comes in, masters, kids, even the water polo club, just what is the lease? Have y'all talked about that? What is the lease rate for them? And then do they bring their own lifeguards or their district lifeguards on staff, or how does all that work?
So the district would handle all the employment of the lifeguards. So there is employment opportunity there for students and people who have lifeguard safety to work those jobs. As far as the contracts for lease, we haven't even opened that door yet. Until we have a director on board for that center, it would be unfair for us to enter into those conversations because the director will be the one managing those agreements and the lane times and when those lanes are available and practice times are available. So I don't have a good number for you there. I know it generates, like I said, we know like Keller, Mansfield, some of these pools that are partnerships with their local cities are generating up to $1 million a year annually. And splitting that. That's through swim lesson groups, water aerobic groups, club teams, through all those different avenues.
Okay. I guess going back to the training center, with what y'all are talking about, our swim teams, one, do you have the dry land? But I guess my question is, if we don't have the practice area, I guess we got an indoor facility at Northwest High School just a few hundred yards away. I mean, what's the advantage of having really another indoor facility?
Yeah, so as you can see, it's not like a football field, and there's a rendering from the architect there that shows the practice pool next to it and shows some area where workouts can happen. Basically, if that goes away, anything that you see, let me go back to the floor plan here. Anything that would happen in that pink area for the training area that would be land training, dry land training, They would probably just do in that area. That's probably going to be a grassy area when if this is removed. And so they may put tractor tires out there and go out there and flip tractor tires. I don't think that there's not a plan that they would go to one of our indoor facilities to accomplish that. They would find space around the outside of the building to do the dry land training that they need to do. Obviously, some of it could happen in the weight room, but the bigger areas they would find, that's what most natatorium pools do. If you go around and you really look around the pool, you'll see other equipment laying outside in little courtyard areas or fenced areas where some of that is happening. So this provides them that protective cover to do that any time of the year.
Because I guess now with that, talking to the high school swim coaches, are they talking about having practice in the morning, in the afternoon, and then if they need the indoor practice facility and we don't have it here, can they use the indoor practice facility back at their campus?
I would say that would be yes. I mean, they're going to coordinate that with the athletic coordinator at each campus to see who's in that facility.
Okay.
Obviously, if it's inclement weather and people are trying to use that, I don't know who wins out in that conversation. Okay. That's up to each campus.
Okay.
But what was the first part of your question?
What was the first part?
Yeah. You asked two, and I hit the second one.
Yeah, and I hate when I do that too. When are they talking about practicing? Morning or
yes.
afternoon?
Both. There'll be both swim times in the morning and swim times after school. Once again, which is why we thought the partnership, especially with Texas Health, aligned real well, because any patrons that would be coming during the day, you're probably not going to have high school students there because their swim times are usually in the morning or directly after school. So yes, they'd be at both.
Like say the Byron team, do they swim both morning and afternoon, or is it just the schools all?
I think they do. I think sometimes it goes JV gets the morning and varsity gets the afternoon, or flip-flop, and so I'm not sure exactly the schedule on that, but I know they use both. Okay.
Now, I guess, I was on the swim team in high school, so and our school had a pool on campus, so it was very convenient. So now I'm ready to move to pool questions.
Okay.
And the practice pool, lengthwise, is that a 25-yard length?
It is.
And then how many lanes are we looking in that practice pool?
You would get up to 4 lanes additional in that practice.
And then how deep is it? Because y'all talk about being shallower for swim lessons.
It's a shallow, is it 3.5? 3.5 to 4.5.
Okay, so no starting blocks in, just
strictly practice lanes.
And then going to the big pool, lengthwise, what's the distance on that?
This is a 50-meter stretch.
50 meter, and then lengthwise, how many lanes is that?
Lengthwise, the full length?
Yeah, so if you're going to do a 50-meter swim meet, how many lanes can you set up going that way?
8 lanes for 50 meters.
Okay, and then side to side, that's 25 yards side to side, is that right?
Yes.
And I think y'all said 32 lanes?
I believe that's 22 or 24. I think 20. I'll defer to the architect. I'll go with them, 22.
Okay. And then I see that the starting blocks are there on the right end. So if you're going to do a high school meet with the 25 yards, would you just partition off lengthwise on the pool, or would you go side to side?
This pool is a Murtha pool. It actually has 2 decks that are movable. So you can actually set up 2 meets plus still have your diving pool area available. So you have that ability.
And then on the shallow end there where the starting blocks are, what's the depth on that? So
2 meters.
6 something, a little over 6 feet. Okay. Because when the emails I sent since the last meeting on the practice pool, I thought you could just set it up, use and partition off the bigger pool, but taking into account the swim lessons we want to do for elementary school, that makes a lot more sense, especially because with the diving area you lose that pool area.
You do, and you put your students in a shallower water as well as a warmer water. It gives you the ability to control that temperature at a little bit warmer degree. It's more comfortable for the kids versus the competition pool, which is a much cooler, as you know, Mr. Sproles, a much cooler environment, which would make it a little bit more frigid for the kids trying to learn to swim.
plus they'd use the practice pool more for physical therapy. Is that what I read?
That's correct. So it allows them to do more physical therapy there. They still have the physical therapy equipment that, if that went away, they could obviously use the big pool, but it would be more conducive to the practice pool depths.
Now, at the Gold Card Luncheon, the senior citizens were very excited about having that available.
A little water aerobics class. Yeah.
Mr. McClure, my questions are really with regard to the bond itself and the $5 million. And I'm just really curious here because I know when we proposed the bond, we probably didn't propose it with an extra $5 million. And I know that a lot of times we count on some reserve from our savings to help us complete projects. And just as you've said, since we proposed this, we're now expecting a $2 million additional cost just because costs escalate.
Yes.
And that certainly could happen with one of the elementary schools we're proposing to build or land or, any of these things that we're looking at. And so my questions really, and I know this is all speculation, but my concern would be how might we need to spend that $5 million instead of, I like the project, I was not questioning that, and I see so much potential, but I also am concerned about taking away from our reserve that does help us meet additional needs and address costs that we don't always foresee.
So what I would say is that we actually do put an escalation factor in on every project when we plan a bond. So if you look there on the top of the page, you see Lance Thompson was scheduled at $30.6 million. Now remember, these dollars you're seeing are project costs. That includes furniture and equipment and the fees to pay the architect and the cities and all those. It's all the soft costs rolled up in there. That's not the construction costs. But you can see from Lance Thompson Elementary at 30.6 to elementary number 20 at 32.7 to elementary number 21 at 35. We've put an escalation in on how many years we think that would go out. What I would tell you my shortcoming was in the planning of the bond was I probably should have escalated the pool at a higher rate than what I escalated it as the other construction projects, and not being knowledgeable enough, and the short side there, I should have probably seeked out some knowledge, but I probably should have put a higher escalation in there because of the equipment that's involved with making that pool environment safe. And so with regards to cushion and upcoming projects, that's where Dr. Warren stated, I really feel like we're in a very good position because I know where all the stuff in blue is. We've already got it under contract. And I know where all the stuff in orange is because we're in those discussions right now about cost estimates. And there's none of those projects that I'm having to bring back and put on the agenda to talk to this extent with. So that leaves really 2 elementary schools as well as some a numerous amount of renovations down there at the bottom. Those are ADA improvements and mechanical replacements, all those 3 that are multiple schools, Seven Hills, Justin, Lakeview, Granger, Love, Nance, all those are small renovation maintenance type work. And so we know where those costs stand. So I really have 2 schools that are outstanding plus the land. Now the land we've been able to buy, 3 sites already, plus 4 sites including the One Horse Farm. So we've gotten 4 sites out of the $18 million that we've spent, and we still have $10 million there. And then of course the other one is the Haslett renovation, sitting at about $10 million, which I feel will be in that design phase later this year as we plan to open the replacement Haslett next year. And so I'll have a pretty good feel of where that is probably in about 10 months. But I don't feel that's scope that we can control. We can move less walls, not move as many, do certain things to that building as an office building that doesn't affect the educational environment of our students, that if we were in trouble there, we have that comfortability to move. I don't think that's the case there either because it was escalated as well.
And my second question, I think I asked this the last time, was just about upkeep, how we make sure that we, tools are expensive and things wear out. I know that. So my thinking was if we're going to have a pool that we hope lasts until 2030, my guess is we're going to need lots of renovation between now and 2030 in terms of equipment and maintenance. And those dollars typically come out of bond, correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
And so you were going to check and just see typically what kinds of replacement cost, maintenance?
We did, and so we visited with Mansfield, Denton, Keller, Rockwall, Louisville, Carroll, and the city of Plano, Oak Point Recreation Center, and Frisco. Most of those now, so these, what I'd call the modern era of natatoriums, they've been around since about the first of 2000. So some of them are 2003, 2004, 2001. Some are as early as most recent as 2014 in the Louisville West Side Aquatic Center. That was one. Louisville had 2 pools. They built that new one in 14, and they actually did away with one of them, and so they just have an east side and a west side right now. For the most part, there has not been major renovations to those projects without what you mentioned, the equipment or the lighting. And I think one of our advantages that we have today is we're late to that game. Some of those were the early pioneers. So their lighting is not LED. Their lighting is not set up right. So they're upgrading that lighting. The pool equipment is an expensive cost. We will plan for that just like we do the rooftop units on all our buildings. It should last us 15 to 20 years. And so we will cycle through equipment costs. But there's very little finishes as far as painting, floor finishes, carpet, things like that. You're talking about a concrete facility with very durable materials because it's in a corrosive environment. So all the metals that are exposed and those type of things, there will be some corrosion over time that we'll have to deal with. We might have to replace some ductwork over time. But those time periods are beyond 20 years in which we would anticipate in a normal life cycle cost of any other equipment in a building. And that holds true with what we're seeing from all these other renovations. If I go through the list, Mansfield was built in 2005, and in 18 they're replacing their HVAC units. And Denton was built in 2003, and next year they're planning on resurfacing their pool and replacing their HVAC and pool equipment. Keller, 2003, and 2 years ago they did a lighting and HVAC upgrade. Rockwall was 2009. They're in need now, 10 years later, to replaster the pool. Louisville, again, was 2014, just opened. The 2006 East Side Aquaticsville for Louisville has not had any renovations yet. So it's unknown when that would be needed. Carroll ISD was built in 2001, and then in 17, they have major repairs to the pool that they're listing as the lighting, HVAC, and pool equipment. So common theme there of lighting, HVAC, and pool equipment.
And Tim, help me remember another question I had. Can you show the slide that shows the original budget of the 27.5? Because after I sent that email last time, I went back and looked at the bond website to see what were the price we show the taxpayers, and there it shows 31.1 million. So
that's correct.
What's the difference between 27.5 and that 31?
The 27.5 is what would be included in that 31 as construction costs, and the rest of that would be buying lane and pool equipment, buying furnishings for the locker rooms, you're paying for your architects and engineering fees, paying for your city permits, paying for your testing and materials. So all what we call soft costs is what makes up that difference between the 27.5 and the 31 listed on the bond.
So are the soft costs on this presentation at all?
They're not. They still fit within that buffer between 27.5 and 31. The soft costs fit within that, so that is not escalated.
Okay. And then here you got the construction cost escalation of $2 million, but then when you show that slide, we're going to, I think it was Adams, where it was savings is 3.5. So how do we go? So did y'all just cost estimate too much?
So Adams, some of that is a product that bond, I'm not sure how it was planned, so it could have been escalated too much.
That was before your time.
Adams came out of an era when we had the dip in the economy, and it was starting to rise back up, so we kind of reset construction values, and so they were just coming back up, even though that was a 2012 bond. The prices were starting to come back up, so they hadn't caught up to where they were before the recession at that point yet. And so some of that was some changes we did in the furniture procurement and in the facility to try to make it better, and just try to manage those dollars that are in there in that soft cost area.
And then my last question, I promise. The earlier you mentioned all these companies moving in that are driving up construction costs now. Are those companies moving within the Northwest boundaries, or is it just in general to our part of the
It's general to the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Okay.
I think that's evident in what Mr. Templeton presents whenever he shows you the DFW area demographics and the fact that our economy is very strong. But I think Huckabee and Pogue would both stand here and tell you they're all over the DFW Metroplex, and as well as many of us are as you go throughout, and you see cranes and buildings and construction going up everywhere. And it's a sign of a healthy market right now, but it also means that our labor increase is coming and material increases is falling. The other piece of that we haven't really mentioned yet in this presentation is there was some impact due to the tariffs. The president was putting on some of that material coming out of other countries. They've seen some of that influence in the cost estimate as of recently. Some of those were spikes and have cooled back down. Some of those were still a little bit unknown. We're still waiting to see the true long-term impact of that.
Okay. I guess hindsight being 2020, I wish we had some swim coaches here because I'd like to hear their opinion. Because just for the rest of y'all up here, I was initially against the practice pool and the training area, but I'm definitely I like the idea. I like the practice pool, and especially with the swim lessons for the elementary kids and for the rehab folks being able to use it. I'm still on the fence about the practice area, so I'm kind of like to hear y'all's opinion on that as well. So, Tim, thank you.
One question, Christy. When a motion is made and seconded, do we need to do any numbers, because these aren't bids, correct?
These are not bids.
Okay. Do we need to do any numbers, or do we just need to have the board members approve the projects that we're going to do?
I would suggest they could approve the project.
Okay.
And then if we need to come back to numbers later,
Right.
Yeah. Our estimate, depending on how we move forward tonight, would be, Mr. Heisel, how many, let's go with everything's approved. What's the soonest you would have bid numbers back before the board? So we're looking about 5 weeks, and that would vary, obviously, if we make some alterations to the plans that need to be made before they go out. So we'll have bid numbers back in front of you, which are the hard numbers, not the cost estimate, for your approval sometime within, say, the next 5 to 10 weeks is probably a...
So board, what we really just need your guidance is, if you look, the slide that's on your screen right now, what projects would you like us to include?
So basically, we need to decide, do we want to have that additional training?
The pool,
area.
the additional pool, and the additional training area.
Well, I think we need the additional practice pool. I'm still not so sure about the training area.
Yes, please.
I know that's a difficult decision, but I just want to talk a little bit more about the training area. When this project first came to us, it was a pool. And Lynn reached out, and then with the help of Tim, solicited this partnership and developed. And this is really quite a unique opportunity for our students. The medical training, internships, and things that they will be able to get. We can't get anywhere else in the area. So our kids will be learning in that training area all the time, because part of the medical facility piece, and Lynn can jump in here anytime, includes that training area. And so, a lot of people do this out in the parking lots and whatever, and those can be done. But it's much more than just a turf square field people can stretch in. And it is part of the curricular program and the internships that our kids work with. But it's a big price tag, but it does come with a purpose.
Our goal is actually to have exercise sports medicine. The true training goes along with that. So that our students, if they're pursuing this career, they're getting certified as exercise sports medicine patient care clinicians. This allows them to have an actual operating area to be able to do that. So while, yes, we are going to be doing water and aquatic therapy, rather than therapy, the exercise sports medicine is extensive in that area. And having an opportunity to have an industry-based place for training, and you get prepared for that next step. This next step is really ready. We're going to be
And I would just say our medical facilities at our academy environment, we are expressed for space there. It's another opportunity for our students to do those types of things.
This allows your expansion to go over the 400 capacity that we have for biomed program. This would allow our students to actually specialize in that and actually extend on to the students training for that.
My apologies for not doing that justice.
So I'm a little confused now, more confused. The medical rehab contribution, that opportunity for training, and is still going to be there regardless of whether we have the practice field. Okay. Right. And we do have practice fields located on all 3 campuses. Right.
This would actually cut down our personnel costs, so we centrally located, and our students would actually be able to come work at this facility with one instructor. Where if I have it at all, then looking at 3 instructors and trying to figure out how we're going to balance that as well. Because that's going to make it a lot.
I just have I wasn't here when this bond went up, and it's a lot of money.
Yep.
And I know that some districts have bulldozed their pools because of the cost of keeping them up. In fact, the one that Steve swam in was bulldozed. I'm not sure if that was because of him or something else. He probably showed up in his bunny rabbit outfit, but you know, if this is going to bring money in to help offset the cost of operating that pool by having these additional facilities, then I'm for it. My concern is we don't have any other than Texas Health. We have no other outside agencies that we've heard from, right? Other than the performance course had some interest.
Performance course and one other local athletic group has both reached out to me.
Okay.
They just, neither one of those entities have the liquid capital to put the money on the front end. They would both be willing to negotiate long-term deals with us.
Okay, and so I'm concerned about that because most facilities that have been making money are in coordination with the city.
Yes.
Mansfield, Keller, Denton, all of those are in conjunction with outside entities that operate it during the day, and the schools are before and after school or after hours. So I'm for the thing. The other part is that I was in a district where we couldn't open a facility because we didn't have enough money to staff it. Mm-hmm. And since we don't know what the state is going to do as far as funding, I'm scared. I'll just be honest with you. I'm scared because I don't want to be in that position again. It's an embarrassment to not be able to open a facility because you don't have enough money to open it, and you still got to pay utilities, but there's no students using it. So my concern is that as we move forward, I think even though you talked about not reaching out to outside entities, I think it's really important that we begin that process as early as possible so we can see what we're going to have online and on board when we open it, that we've got some outside help to pay for those operating costs. I mean, if I'm going to have 3 people or 5 people over there and I'm not going to be able to hire 3 teachers or 5 teachers that I need in the classroom, then you know, I don't feel good about that. So that's just my I don't know, my thoughts on it is that, hey, I'm all for it. If it's going to bring money in that'll help offset the cost, then let's do it all. But you know, it's a lot of money. Huh?
It is. It's the 5.8 compared to the $400 million that we passed is not a lot. The project is a lot, and the bulk of the project was part of the bond and approved. A couple of points I'll make. while we have not reached out, that doesn't mean they haven't reached in. And it has been flying off the hook from what I understand. And I wish Joel was here tonight. I wish Mr. Melbourne was here tonight to tell you that. But they're getting calls regularly on, we haven't even broke ground. And they're already calling saying, we want our polo team. We want our dive club. How soon can we sign up? And to my point earlier, we just haven't sat down with whoever's going to be the director of that to say, what are the costs? What's the market rate? What do we establish? What is the term of that? Is it year to year? Is it season to season? And so some of those things need to be done by whoever's running that program. But we are certainly getting an influx of calls of people already interested in wanting to rent our pool from us. The second thing, I lost my point. The Texas Health. I wanted to say their commitment was based on, they already had money earmarked for Northwest in this northern region to do something. They know our community is growing. They wanted to do a medical operation in this area, in the Justin North Lake area. And when we reached out to them, we had 4 hospital partners or healthcare partners that we said, here's 4 that are already doing work with us. We'll start with Texas Health. And we did, and they said, do not go anywhere else. We already have money earmarked for that area of town. We want this. We believe in this. And so not only have they been excited about this project, they're already asking, when will you build the second one? Because we would want to be a partner in that one too. And so I think they see the vision, and they believe in the vision. And so that's been their stance all along, is we were going to build something up here anyways. Why not partner with a district? It's a better solution for all of us.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's great. Not to downplay on Wise County, but they were moving into their territory. And I think that Texas Health is making a smart move by utilizing a facility that will benefit both them and us.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll go ahead, Judy.
Oh, go ahead.
No?
I was just going to ask about the numbers we're seeing tonight. If we approve some or all of this, but the bids come back different, will we have the opportunity to look at it again?
Absolutely. As with any construction contract, we stand before you and tell you, here's the construction amount. It's in budget is usually what comes out of my mouth. In fact, that's what's always come out of my mouth since I've stood in front of you. This is not a project that we could take that exception on and go ahead and go bid it and bring that dollar back to you. We have to have your involvement on direction on this. And that dollar amount could come back a lot less. I'm not saying Pogue doesn't know what they're doing in cost estimating, but until you bid it, you truly don't know. It could come back more. But we can't proceed with the contract with Pogue until you have blessed the final dollars once it bids. Yes.
Okay, here's my perspective. I've been to every swim meet that they have over in Keller, and I'm going to tell you, it's very, very crowded. And when we started this bond program, I asked Dr. Warren, I said, can we pull out the pool? Because I don't want this thing to fail. And he said, no, we're all in. So we had voters that said, we want a pool. So $31 million were obligated to me to move forward with that. Now, when I look at the other facilities, all 3 of our programs grow every year. You can ask all 3 coaches, and they will tell you their program, they want it to be bigger, and it's growing really fast. So the facilities that we have, I don't know if you know this, my grandson swims. So I'll go over in the afternoon sometime and watch him swim. And a lot of times they'll get bumped out of the Keller pool. They'll drive all the way over there for 30 minutes, be in the pool for 30 minutes. They're supposed to be in there an hour. I said, get out, because we've got another group that has precedence over you. So what do our kids do? They get to go out in the grass field and play tag. So the facilities that we're asking for tonight is premier facilities. We're obligated for the pool. The training pool, to me, is a necessity, and the training facility that we have puts us over the top. And not only for the academy bunch, the CTE, but just to say that we have premier facilities is not enough, but it's what we're doing with those that makes a difference. So to me, I think we need to be all in with everything that we have here. I know it's a lot of money, as Ron pointed out, but again, we've already committed to $31 million or $27.5 million for the facility, and to me, these other things just add value to our students. So That's my 2 cents worth.
I really appreciate Mr. Sluter's opinion. So going back to the training area, if Performance Camp if we build it and Performance Camp uses it, will they have sole use of it, or can the Camp Gladiator folks that are out there on the Seaman in August, can they go indoors and use it as well?
Well, I think that's the leverage we have by taking that on without them at the table now, is we have the leverage to make that contract whatever we want it to be.
Okay. Just make sure that there's all kinds of options out there for
Absolutely.
for different abilities and different.
And I do want to point out, on all these projects, when you see savings coming back, maybe I didn't fail to really mention this. Yes, we still have that buffer of from 27.5 to 31. So, what is that? 4.5 million. My job and Sarah's job and the new executive director that you hired or approved for us to hire tonight, our job is to manage that extra $4 million and bring you as much savings back into that as well. So don't assume that $4 million is already spent either, because it's not spent on any of those projects. We go through, we work with curriculum, we work with technology, we work with the furniture and furnishings to go in, and we try to manage that down to as tight as we can to still supply everything that we need. So I'm just saying that there's a buffer in there to get us through construction and putting the things in the building that we need, but we very rarely have to come back and say we need more money for that buffer. We usually come back less than that buffer. So I'm not saying it's going to save us $1 million, but it could be $500,000 back in our pocket at the end of the day. That's our goal. That's our mindset, is to manage that buffer all day long so that we can bring these type of options to you to better other facilities. And I think under Dennis and so far under me, we've proven that we always bring back savings, and we try to, as best we can, bring back savings to further the bond every time.
So Lillian, to answer your question, what were my thoughts? Is after hearing Dr. Thornell talk, and of course Lynn has me at hello, all she's got to do is say CTE, and I'm on board.
Oh, Steve, don't say that out loud.
Yeah, she knows. But I just, the opportunities that will allow us to give our students in the future are just amazing with that program. So my thoughts is to go ahead and move forward and get it to the bid and see what comes up, see what the costs are. Because, like I say, with the economy doing well and businesses moving in, if we can really show the Metroplex that we do have these premier facilities that aren't just for show, but actually have benefit to the students and the kids, maybe we can attract more businesses to our area. It won't help our growth with the students, but at least it'll help the bring in the commercial revenue dollars that come to us. So, so I guess my thoughts now are like Mr. Sluter said, let's just go all in, and let's see what happens at the bid and go from there.
This is a really hard decision, honestly, and I agree with everything that has been said, and I appreciate all the effort, Tim, you've put into it. And I do think we need the practice pool, and I see the benefit. But I also know we have to be responsible to the taxpayers for keeping our costs within the bond range as much as we can. And so I really would prefer to hold on the athletic training area, keep the practice pool, build a state-of-the-art, and be conservative with the bond money. So that's kind of where I am, because I think the other, while it could be premier and will be, I'm sure, I don't know that we're in a position to take that kind of risk when we're facing a TRE, when we're not sure where the state is going to leave us in terms of, and I know a lot of what the state leaves us is with M&O, not this side, but both of those matter, and so I would prefer to be a bit more conservative. So.
All right, let me do this. Let me recommend, and then you all give us your guidance on the vote. I would recommend that you direct Mr. McClure to go ahead with the bid process that would include the originally designed aquatic center, that would include the proposed or the estimated cost escalation, the additional practice pool, and the athletic training area, of which he will bid out and bring that pricing back to you at a pretty quick turnaround.
Yep. 5 weeks is what I heard.
Yep. That is my recommendation.
So how do you want this baby broken down? Do you want to just make it as a whole, Madam President? And just let's see where it falls. Okay, well, I move to approve the use of undesignated funds for previous capital bond programs to be added to the District Aquatic Center project as recommended by the administration.
I have a motion by Mr. Sluter and a second by Mr. Sproles. Do we have any other discussion?
Good discussion.
Okay, I guess all those in favor? Okay, 5 to 1, sorry.
Thank you, Board.
Sorry.
All right, very good work. Thank you.
Thank you,
And Board, you will see these numbers again. You will see this project again. Absolutely. You have to make the final approval of the price.
Okay, moving on to consideration of teachers' late resignation without good cause and proposed complaint to the State Board of Education certification for abandonment of term contract. Dr. Warren?
I recommend that you approve that for Sherry Alexander.
Hey, Madam President.
Mr. Sproles?
I move that the board find that good cause did not exist for Sherry Alexander to resign and abandon her contract for the 2018-2019 school year, and that the board authorize the superintendent or his designee to file a complaint with the State Board of Educators certification to seek sanctions for her abandonment of contract.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Sproles, a second by Mr. Hastings. All those in favor? 5 to 1. Those opposed? Okay.
Thank you, Board.
Okay, and another consideration of teachers' late resignation without good cause and proposed complaint to the State Board of Education certification for abandonment of term contract. Dr. Warren?
Board, I would recommend approval of that for Trinity Mitchell.
Madam President?
Mr. Sluter?
I move that the board find that good cause did not exist for Trinity Mitchell to resign and abandon her contract for the 2018-2019 school year, and that the board authorize the superintendent or his designee to file a complaint with the State Board of Education certification to seek sanctions for her abandonment of contract.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Sluter, a second by Dr. Roush. All those in favor? Those opposed? 5 to 1.
Thank you, Board.
Our next item is the 2019-20 TDA contract renewal with Airmark and pricing. Dr. Warren?
Board, the information on our Airmark contract begins on page 89 in your packet. Our friends from Washington, D.C. are also recommending the pricing, and they do this every year, the pricing for our student meals and adult meals. We're looking at a 5-cent rise in student lunches from $2.30 to $2.35, and from secondary, that's elementary lunches, and from secondary lunches, $2.65 to $2.70. And as I told you, we have a very long relationship with Airmark. I think we did make some comments that some of our survey numbers had dropped in the Airmark range, but you still have a approval rate of over 70%, which is not bad for a school cafeteria by all means. And I know those guys at Airmark are probably working very hard to bring those numbers back up. Mark, Dana, anything to add? Okay. Any questions? I would recommend approval.
Madam President?
Dr. Roush?
I motion to approve the 2019-2020 TDA contract renewal with Airmark and price changes for the 2019-2020 school year as recommended by the administration.
Second.
We have a motion by Dr. Roush, a second by Dr. Simpson. Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor? Carries 6-0.
Thank you, Board. Thank you for the work, Dana. Thank you for the work, Mark.
Okay, moving to reports, February financial and investment report. Dr. Warren?
Mr. Gresswich.
Yes, this is the February financial report. Okay, here we go. And essentially, we had a couple of securities mature, one in capital projects, one in the interest and sinking fund, which is used to pay debt service. We had $257 million invested and earned just shy of 2.4%, so interest rates are up a lot from the past. The diversity and diversification in terms of maturity and investment instruments, we're letting a lot of things just slide into text pool right now. And the reason we're doing that, quite frankly, is that there is about 0.1% between now and a one-year investment. So there's not much point going long. We have to pay a management fee on those funds that are invested outside of text pool, which would even reduce that amount even more. Text pool is a diversified investment vehicle in that they invest in a lot of different things. And so we're getting the diversification not through our investments, but through text pool investments in effect. At some point, I talked to Brian, and we're probably going to look at diversifying within text pool by going between text pool and perhaps text pool prime, which does invest in commercial paper. There is a slightly higher risk with commercial paper, but there's also slightly higher returns as well. And there hasn't been any defaults in text pool prime ever. There was one about 20-something years ago in Logic in their commercial paper account. If you're on the, happen to be, remember that from 20-something years ago, but that was the only time I've ever seen that happen. So and that was actually recovered as well. It was, at that time, the commercial paper that went under was Pacific Gas and Electric, and they were caught up in the Enron manipulations. So it was a very unusual set of circumstances. But I think that's kind of the direction we're going to be working in. Oops, I think I just killed it. It doesn't matter. We earned $651,000 for the month of February. We've earned $3.5 million year to date. The investment report is attached along with the financials, and be happy to answer any questions.
Good job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Our next report is Facilities Planning and Construction Monthly Report. Dr. Warren?
Sarah, please.
Good afternoon. Again, I'd like to give you guys what we are doing in the facilities department. First, we have all the planning. The aquatic center, as we all know, that we've spoken about in extent tonight. Then we are doing...
No more pool, Sarah.
I'm sorry?
No more pool right now.
I'm hoping to just fly by that part. Then we are planning on Northwest ISD. We have some CT programs that we need to give a little TLC to and redesign that space to make it better, to make it more usable for the students. That would include the shop, which is existing from the beginning of that school when I went there. And then it would have the horticulture as well as the vet program that we have in our high schools. We also are looking at the PAC. That building is going over 20 years, so we're going to be replacing the seats, giving them LED lights to help with stage, LED lights in their black box, just a little, and then we're also looking at the rigging system to make sure that everything is sound structurally and is seeing if they need any more support or any more needs when it comes to the rigging system. We're also planning a 3-story addition at Eaton High School, similar to the Byron Nelson addition, to make them 3,200. And then we have, which we've added 2 middle schools to that Eaton project for the fine arts. I just broke it down to show that we are renovating all 5 middle schools. We do have 6, but Adams is our proto that we look at the design, and we're going to mock the fine arts when it comes to the original 5 middle schools. So, but the Eaton High School has 2 middle schools attached to it, and then we have 3 middle schools in its own project itself. So just to fly by the Aquatic Center, we've talked about it tonight. See, fast. This is the layout we have proposed for the CT renovation. As you can see in the bottom right, that's a new space for Northwest. We didn't have a space for their vet program. So the bottom right is that, and then the shop is in the larger space in the middle. The far left is the floral space, as well as the computer lab lecture area for the floral. Here's some renderings walking into the CT hallway. Just behind us are the group restrooms, and to the back right, and then the back left is the coffee area in the library. We're giving them a little bit of a collaboration area, so a charging station, being able to come out in groups right outside the floral lab, but all programs are able to meet out there. The library, I didn't put that on the title because that's an alternate. We're hoping to use in the budget of this project to be able to renovate this space, to give it a little TLC, get some carpet, new fixtures, paint. If you guys have been into the library, this would be your perspective walking in. There's currently a wall that is in front of that makerspace sign that you can't see on the other side, and it's not really a usable space because you can't see what students are doing on the other side of that wall. So we're proposing to take that wall down and use that space as a collaborative area for students, and we'll get closer to that. To the left of that space, there is a classroom that we're hoping to renovate and make 3 different group rooms, so we can have small groups separate from the large group or the library area for quiet space, or just so they can talk among themselves. But this is the perspective in that area that we're hoping to renovate and tear that wall down. The blue box is another small group area. And if you look at this perspective, you have the ramp that goes behind that white solid wall, because you still need a ramp to get into that space. It's just a step or two from the library into this space. The path, just to show you guys, we're going to be looking at the black box for the LED lights, replacing LED lights on the stage, looking at a rigging system and replacing the seats. And we've done a little bit of modification. If y'all have been in the pack at Northwest, we have a short wall that is the perimeter of the seating, which doesn't allow, Dr. Lacefield has concern on leaving that facility because you have to go through those 2 aisles in the middle. It's very congested when leaving a production. So we are looking at taking that wall down. In the front of the pack, it's leveled with that ramp that goes out to the exterior exits to the far left and right, as well as steps from the aisles, or from the rows, so they can have another exit instead of the interior aisles to help with that congestion. This is just a perspective of what it would look like. Take away the green chairs and possibly put red chairs to give that school spirit.
They look maroon to me.
I'm sorry?
They look maroon to me.
They will not be maroon, I can promise. I'm sorry, but not.
That's harsh.
As you can see, this is where we're proposing for the 3-story addition for Eaton High School. We actually chose this location because when we were building Eaton High School, we were thinking about doing swim lanes at each high school. And so we have, majority of this space does not have geo wells in this space. So it was a cost effect to put it in this location. Sorry. So this is just kind of to show you guys the addition. We're going to be connecting the academic wing from the southeast corner of the building to the athletic hallway. This would help with circulation in the building, as well as it gives that hallway connection from the academic to the new addition is actually an outside space. If you look at this next picture, it looks like it's an interior space, but on the inside of the courtyard, it actually is opened up between the columns. It is a pass-through to be able to walk through the courtyard. It's not a conditioned hallway. Just to give you a closer look at the addition, we have 2 art rooms that we are going to be adding. That's on the inside of the courtyard. They will have garage doors that will be able to open up into that space so they can go out there, paint, do whatever they need to do, or just be out on a good day, be able to go outside. We are doing the same as we are in the addition, or the academic wing. We have 8 classrooms that surround a science lab. We have the collaboration space, we have restrooms, and small group areas. At the north of the plan, you will see that we have an addition for a golf simulator. We're doing this also at Byron Nelson. Our golfers do not have a place to go currently if the weather is bad, so we're hoping to give them space to where if the golf course is closed, can't use it, it's too wet, or it's raining, they have a space inside the building that they're able to utilize and practice. So the second floor, same 8 classrooms around the science lab, collaboration areas, small group areas. We do have an elective classroom across the hall where just above the art rooms, as well as a assistant principal suite to give them that administration in that addition. And then this third story, same layout when it comes to the classrooms and collaboration, but we have 2 electives in that area on that third floor. Middle school fine arts additions just gives you kind of a layout of what we plan to do at each school. So at Chisholm Trail, we're looking at the front left of the building is where their fine arts is. Here's a closer view. In working with Dr. Lacefield, he was trying to make the current band hall work. We're going to tear some walls down, open up the storage to give them a larger space. But when we looked at Adams Band Hall, it was not going to be near the space that it should be for that program. So what we are proposing to do is actually do an addition for a band hall to give them the appropriate space needed for that program. Where the band hall used to be, we're going to be moving the choir there because we took choir out behind the stage so we can make the stage and black box connect. We have a movable wall between those spaces as well as adding a movable wall between the stage and cafeteria. This is how we've done it at Adams as well as Wilson and Tidwell. Those 2 spaces can be used even if we have a cafeteria running. If we have kids in the cafeteria, you can close that movable door and you can have choir practicing for a performance, or you can have band practicing, plus you can have your black box theater because of the walls that we're placing. So Medlin, they are getting the fine arts addition as well as some classroom spaces. They're in need of some additional learning spaces. So again, we're looking at the front of the building for the fine arts and the back right for the addition for the classrooms. Very similar to Chisholm Trail, where band is going to be the actual addition. The old band hall will be the new orchestra, and the old orchestra will become an ensemble room for the space. They need that space. The school is very tight. Programs amazing at this school, at every school. We're also moving past the stage and black box to add the choir, as well as another ensemble practice space. And those classrooms, we're going to be moving to the addition with the needed classes, as well as science classrooms. So at the addition of these wings, we are interrupting a science class on each floor. So we've added the 2 science classes into the addition, plus an additional science lab, which is needed based on their master plan that they need that space. Plus the home ec classroom, the family consumer, that's where we put the choir, so we moved them here, as well as there's a STEM program that they're using in the ensemble place. So we've moved it all to this addition, which this addition will actually be a storm shelter as well for Medlin Middle School. Pike is one of its own. We have no other middle school like this. The fine arts is in the back left of the building. So we're going to look a little closer. Far left, we have 2 classrooms showing that we're going to be renovating. That is currently where the art rooms are. We decided to move the art rooms to make the current fine arts hallway connect to the wing that's on the south side of that building. Currently, it is an open outside space, so now it's an interior environment where kids don't have to go outside to get to the art space. So we've moved art into an addition with the black box and ensemble rooms. We looked at every possibility to put that black box behind the stage, but as you can see, the old competition gym is directly behind the stage, so we do not have the the accurate space in order to put that black box behind the stage. Next to the stage is a space that athletics has taken over, but we are going to give them some storage in that old competition gym. They don't need the full bleachers that they have in that space because they have the newer competition gym. So we're going to take those bleachers out, put some accurate storage space and training space to give that space next to the stage back to drama. Now to construction. This is just the list of our active projects. I don't have any pictures of safety and security upgrades. Taking pictures of walls and a door is not that great to look at, but that is the upgrades that we're doing at the front of the building where you'll have to be buzzed into the actual building before walking in. As well as this summer we're doing hardware upgrades throughout the entire district to make it to our standard of safety and security. So these are about a week and a half old, but we've definitely made some progress since then. Our storm shelter, which is the solid white walls, actually it has all roof. It doesn't look like it has a roof, but everything's been poured. The concrete's there. They're making great time. We're looking at August to move in. Been working with Coach Turner, Joel, and the school on coordinating how we're going to get everything to this field house come August. And here is our 3-story addition, just to give you a perspective of where it is. It's on the east side of the building. We have broken ground. I've heard from a lot of the staff members how they are enjoying watching the construction going on because they're getting firsthand just looking outside their window. And then here's Lance, our elementary school that opens up in August. I did my best to walk through the school and try to remember our renderings that we have to help you guys see where we are when it comes to the project. So here's the front of the building. You can see the flags flying. We've flown our last steel. All the steel's in the building, starting to close most of it up. Here is a perspective looking into our library at the makerspace. And there's the current picture. And this is looking with the makerspace behind you, looking at the rest of the library. You can see the 5 wrapped white columns. Those are our trees that are in our learning space. It's our cafeteria. And then this is our collaboration space that's in between all grade levels. So you can see all the finishes. We've got the walls painted, texturized, the tiles up, the ceiling's about to be dropped, and then flooring will be next. This is our courtyard in between the 2 academic classroom wings. This is the platform on the 2nd floor that connects the 2 academic wings. You can see the steps that are facing the cafeteria and the stage. This is kind of our area where, if we're crowded in the cafeteria and you can't see, go upstairs and you have kind of a balcony seating to any production or awards that they may have. This is a PLC room. We've never designed for a PLC room when it comes to an elementary school, but we have 2 grade levels in each PLC room. Each side you can see on the walls, we have one for it'll be teacher set up on both walls to where each grade level will have their space in that room. Just to give you some finishes that are going up, the tile around the wet wall. And this is one of the classrooms. This is 2 classrooms connected. You can see the white across the top of the screen. That is where the movable wall will go to make those separate spaces. I can't get the best perspective on this, but this is in between 2 classrooms. It's outside learning space that we have for all grade levels at each 1st and 2nd floor. Shaded. Hopefully they'll be able to use it because when we did when we went to all the schools, spoke to teachers, spoke to all the kids when we were designing the school, a lot of teachers want to go outside, but it's Texas, it's hot. Kids can't focus when they're thinking of the sun and sweating. So we gave them some outside space to learn with shade, so hopefully they'll be able to utilize that. Sendera and Topshin addition, these are pretty much the same. We do this every year. Sendera is similar to Granger, where we had to add on to the kindergarten addition at the front of the school because we don't have space outside on the other side of the wing because there's a road. So just giving you, and again, these pictures are a week and a half old. We've got steel up in this space, grade beams, and we're hoping to pour this slab by the end of the week, pending weather. Any questions? Thank you.
Okay, our next item is consider any item removed from the consent agenda, and there were none. And next is the board's president's report, and I have to do a report on your education hours tonight. Under State Board of Education rule, completing required continuing education each year of service is a basic obligation and expectation of any sitting board member. There are 4 tiers or categories of board member continuing education. Tier 1, local district orientation, basic legal orientation, and legal update training. Tier 2, team building training with all board members and the superintendent. Tier 3, annual continuing education, and Tier 4, evaluating and improving student outcome. The following board members have completed the required continuing education for all 4 tiers: Mr. Ron Hastings, Dr. Lillian Rouse, Mr. Mark Sluter, Dr. Ann Simpson, Mr. Steve Sproles, and myself. No board members have failed to complete the required continuing education. All board members have exceeded the required continuing education by the following amounts of time beyond what was required: Ron Hastings, a half hour; Lillian Roush, 14 hours and a half; Mark Sluter, 9 hours; Ann Simpson, 15 hours; Steve Sproles, 15 hours; and myself, 15 and a half additional hours. The minutes of the meeting should reflect this announcement. Okay. The other announcements I have: Communities in School Banquet is this Saturday, April 27th at 6 p.m. Embassy Suites in Grapevine. Election Day is Saturday, May 4th, but early election started today. CLI Conference is June 20th through 22nd in Fort Worth. Session selection sheets are required for registration, and Jennifer will be emailing the selection forms this week for the conference as soon as TASB has them available. And then I added the NEF is May 4th, gala at the Marriott Champions Circle. And Emily, is that at 7? Yes. 7 o'clock. Okay. And I believe that's all I have. Now, superintendent's report.
Board, just a couple of things on your calendars. Mark down Wednesday, June the 19th. You probably remember Dr. Rue and some other area superintendents got together and created the North Texas Visioning Consortium. We're having a dinner in McKinney on Wednesday, June the 19th from 6 to 8:30 in this school, and you'll get all the information on that. And Christy is going to check to make sure if we can call, if more than 3 want to attend, if we can actually post that as a meeting. She'll check that out. But I'm going to make a presentation that night. There's going to be and Dr. Rue is going to be included in this. There's going to be a panel of superintendents talking about the consortium and talking about the visioning document. And so that'll be a really neat time to do that. You notice the art show's going on right now. Tonight and tomorrow is the elementary. Then they'll take everything down. And on Thursday, the secondary will be that. So please come by and at 6 o'clock to look at the kids. So talented kids work. And then I heard a lot of you talking about this. Northwest Reads is Friday. Starts at 9 a.m., so please sign up with an elementary school. And then we talked about the Foundation Gala. And, Board, I just forwarded you the information. And Devonna Holland's mother passed away, and I just sent you the information on the services. Mrs. Kopp, that's all I have. Good meeting.